All right, so I want to welcome you to the second installment of Thursday Thoughts in the series. I'm so excited to be able to be with you tonight. So remember, Thursday Thoughts runs every Thursday from 6 to 7 with a promise that you'll be back on the sofa in front of Netflix by 7, no later, not a minute before, not a minute after. And we're going to be covering topics, a wide range of topics that are important to you, that you all have said are important to you. I've gone around the state and I've collected some exquisite talent to share with us on these new Thursday thoughts. You'll notice, hopefully, that our Thursday thoughts formatting is a little bit different. We've turned them more into like a panel discussion, just some friends hanging out, talking shop, and so we wanted to encourage you to participate in the conversation as well. So I want to also encourage you to follow us on Facebook and also check out what we post on Twitter. Also check out our website at www.scamle.org. Currently, you can apply to be a presenter at conference. So if that's for you, if that's something you're interested in, please be sure that you check out the website. Also, there's tons of information on there. There's resources in there, and there's obviously links to register for Thursday Thoughts sessions. So thank you again for joining us for Thursday Thoughts, and away we go. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Evanson Atkinson. I'm the Professional Learning Director for SCAMLE. I am currently an instructional coach in Greenville County Schools at Ralph Chandler Middle School. Woohoo, go Panthers. I'm an ELA teacher for more than 20 years. I am a wife, a mom, a friend. Just like you, I wear all the hats. So would not be unusual if my child comes in and asks for help with homework between, around 6:30, of course, at the wrong time. So just like you, I'm a normal human being, normal person, lots on my plate. So the intent here is we want to be sure that we use your time with the finest intentionality that we possibly can. So Thursday Thoughts tonight, we get to talk about new teachers or teachers new to the profession and how we can best serve them. So the executive director of the organization is Dr. David McDonald. He is not on the call with us tonight, but he sends his regards and he hopes everyone is well. Jeff Jenkins is the current president of the board. He is also not on the call tonight. His wife's been out of town for a couple of days, and I think that he wants to make sure that he doesn't let her know that he has to work late this night. So he won't be joining us tonight. However, he does send his regards. All right, so we want to start off tonight. Basically, we have two parts to this. So our focus tonight is going to be about new teachers and teachers new to the profession. And my guest tonight, my panelists tonight, my friends who are here with me tonight are Dr. Julie Marlowe and Jamie Campbell. So Dr. Marlowe, introduce yourself, please, and let us know what you're doing and what you're up to and how you stay busy.
Hey there, I am Julie Marlowe. I've been with Greenville County Schools for 13 years now. My bread and butter has been as a math and science teacher in the middle grades. Now I'm working with international teachers. I was also an instructional coach for 4 years. So I spend a lot of time in middle schools and a lot of different middle schools with not new teachers right now, but they're new to the country, so they feel very new.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk a lot about, because our profession is changing. So it used to be when I first entered the profession, I entered with a ton of teachers who were my age. They were fresh out of school. They had followed a traditional route. We had gone to school together. We had gone into placement together. And the landscape has changed dramatically. And how we support teachers, whether they be fresh out of school and never even, signed a light bill for their apartment yet, or they're simply new to the profession after having worked another one or two careers, that landscape is changing and shifting. And how we support those two groups is wildly different, actually, because they need some different things from us as veteran teachers. So I'm happy to also have with us tonight Jamie Campbell. So Jamie, what do you do for the school district, or what do you do and how do you keep busy and all the things?
I am a math interventionist for Ralph Chandler Middle School. I have been in the district for about 14 years now. I worked for about 5, and then I took 11 years off to be a stay-at-home mom, and now this is my 8th year back, or my 8th year back, I think. 8 or 9, I can't remember.
There you go. There you go.
Something like that. And I've been at Ralph Chandler since I've come back to work. So I am lucky enough to get to work with Sarah every day. So that's fun. And I was an 8th grade math teacher there for a good while, taught geometry and algebra and 8th grade math. And now I'm the math interventionist for the last couple of years. So,
and a mentor. And what Jamie did not tell you is that she is a premier mentor who is award-winning. Tell us about your award.
I have been a mentor for the last few years and was awarded a Mentor of the Year award from Winthrop University last year. Was that last year? Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. So we've got big names in the house tonight, but I want to start us off with this video prompt. So this video is about 3 or 4 minutes long, and it's looking at the 6 tips for first-year teachers, 6 quick tips for first-year teachers. Take a look.
For new teachers, year 1 in the classroom is exhausting, overwhelming, and often chaotic. But veteran teachers say it'll also be joyful. You'll realize every decision you make will have an impact on the lives of the kids you teach. You've spent years learning your craft. Now it's your chance to put what you've learned into action. There will be transcendent moments. Other times you'll feel lost and demoralized. Consider writing a note to yourself. Don't be surprised when this is hard. Keep it someplace handy. It'll give you perspective when things get difficult. Whether in the teacher's lounge or online, try to avoid negative talk and seek out positive, growth-oriented colleagues. They'll be your support system, and there when you need to vent. New teachers often spend too much time grading. It's a recipe for burnout, and it overwhelms students. Limit yourself to 3 high-priority comments on everything you grade, and don't grade at all. Try a 1 in 4 rule, grading only 25% of assignments. Teach students to use peer-to-peer feedback or rubrics for self-assessment to lighten your load. Students will test your boundaries and you'll be tempted to confront every infraction. Instead of trying to fix all misbehavior, pick your battles. Just go after the bigger issues that may impact your whole class. Put more energy into relationship building. Greet students at the door, give brief surveys to get to know them, and consider regular check-in activities, like morning meetings, so you're constantly building connections. The goal is to find a balance between being firm and friendly, and that takes practice. Great mentors are essential for developing great teachers. Even if your instinct is to go it alone, connect with positive, experienced teachers, the ones who know how to listen with empathy. They'll help you prioritize and ultimately make a tough job more manageable. A consistent habit of meaningful reflection is at the heart of every good teaching practice, but finding time for it can be difficult, so keep reflection simple. During transitions in the day or after class, jot down notes in a note-taking app, or record voice memos to review later. Focus on just 1 or 2 areas of improvement and let the rest go. To avoid burning out, set firm personal boundaries early and try to stick to them. Consider removing access to work emails from your phone so you're not tempted to respond after hours. Learn to say no to extra duties for now, like coaching an after-school team. Finally, work will drift into your weekends and evenings, so consider picking 1 day a week to work long hours. Remember that it will get easier, but until then, making a habit of these practices will help ease stress and allow for progress in all the right places.
All right. Ooh, no, we don't want to do that. Not again. No. Okay. All right. Okay. There it is. Just kidding. Okay. So dropping into the chat, the most important thing that you just heard from that video. What was the most important thing you just heard? Drop your idea in the chat. I will be monitoring that. But I got to share with you, it's interesting when Dr. Marlowe, I noticed that it says, I always laugh when, when you see these videos and they're made clearly for our target audience when they say years learning your craft. But the reality is that we've got teachers in the classroom who did a week of training, and they're in the classroom, and our expectations for them aren't any different. How do we figure out how to modulate? What is the responsibility of the coach to make sure that we're really checking ourselves before we walk into these classrooms and checking our expectations?
Sure. Sure. I think the most important thing for those of us who are the coaches or the administrators in the building is to understand that slow is fast and fast is slow. So you cannot expect a teacher to walk into that building and be able to have the learning target on the board and have everything perfectly in the room. You got to pick your top 3 non-negotiables and work with that. And so I think the number one thing that I have seen over this year, as I'm working with a lot of new teachers to the United States, is you've got to set those expectations and the boundaries in the classroom and really reinforce those on a daily basis. So that's my top number one non-negotiable is first, let's get that how that classroom is going to run and what kids can expect to do in that classroom. She talked about setting those boundaries, set those boundaries. And I always say that being friendly doesn't mean being a friend, but I think that's important for us as coaches and administrators to really help our new teachers develop what are those first 3 things that we're going to master before we dive into everything.
Absolutely. And setting boundaries is important. I loved in the video, and so did you all, about how it's, make a plan to work late one night a week. Make a plan to work late one night a week. And I think we have to be reasonable with ourselves. And that doesn't have to be, if we can't work late because of family obligations or whatever, then if Sunday afternoon is your time when it's kind of slow, then that's where we portion off the time. Jamie, what have you found in your, when you're like mentoring, how big of a role does time management play for new teachers? Because I mean, sometimes we're drinking from the water hose, the fire hose,
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing. It is very, very easy to get overwhelmed with all of the tasks that you come in as a new teacher and see that these maybe experienced teachers don't seem as a bit as stressed about getting everything done.
Yeah.
And that's because the experienced teachers have learned to prioritize a little bit better at that point. And I know that that's a big thing, especially, new teachers that come in or that are perfectionists, which I have seen a lot of lately.
Yes.
That it's hard to let some of those things go that you feel that are still important, but if you have to decide what's the most important things, what do I need to get done first, and kind of push some of those things off to the side.
Yeah, absolutely. Casey offers grade 1/4 of the assignments to avoid burnout, for sure. Guys, everything can't be graded. And by the way, people who don't work in the schools, they don't understand that. So because remember that their frame of reference, our new teacher's frame of reference, is when they were in school most of the time. And from the student perspective, all their teachers do is grade and think about school. That's what they believe their teachers do as a student. And so when the script flips, if you will, and all of a sudden you're the teacher and you're not the student and you're supposed to be in charge, we can't possibly, we don't grade everything because we don't need to grade everything. But that's really hard. That's really hard to communicate sometimes to a new to the profession teacher. Sarah Campbell said the most important thing that she just heard was to pick one day a week to work late, for sure. Jamie offered make friends with positive, experienced teachers. Positivity is going to get us through. Positivity is going to get us through. One of the most important things, and I've been working on this for a while, is, disposition is a choice. It's not something that happens to us. Disposition is a choice. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't vent. That doesn't mean that I don't get frustrated. That doesn't mean that I don't cry sometimes. It doesn't mean that I don't yell sometimes. It just means that at the end of it, when I'm finished, that my disposition is my choice. So I choose to smile, go back out there and do what I'm trained and what I'm paid to do. All right. So that certainly is a thing. So positivity is big, Dr. Marlowe, don't you think? Positivity?
It's a huge thing, and it actually affects your entire body, whether you get sick or whether you stay healthy. Just, having that positive outlook. And, there is such thing, I believe, as toxic positivity. There is accepting the fact
For
that
sure.
things aren't perfect. So I absolutely think it's okay to have a thought partner or someone to say, this isn't great. What I did today wasn't great. My kids were acting up. And that's not the same. Being positive is not the same thing as not accepting reality. I mean, we have some reality that we have to deal with. And October is, if you're wondering, one of the hardest months in the teaching profession. And I don't know why. About 3 years in, I figured out every October, I feel like I can't do this anymore. And then we come out of it. So accepting that October is a hard month and you're going to come out of it and it's going to get better is an important part of teaching. We have reality, but that doesn't mean we have to let it drag us down.
Agreed. Jamie, so what advice would you give to a new to the profession teacher who's just like, look, all I see is my team, and maybe not all teams are completely positive. Like sometimes we have to go outside of our immediate team to find a positive friend. So what kind of advice would you give to a new to the profession teacher who they're coming into October and they're going, wait, hold on, maybe this isn't what I thought it was?
Don't give up.
Yeah, and spoken like a true mentor. Okay. Yes. Don't give up, and obviously, and find a friend, right?
Yeah. I think sometimes we have to go around, who's just in our immediate area. Whether it be at a faculty meeting where you can introduce yourself to some other people that you don't see on a daily basis, or maybe it's somebody within your department that, you have a department meeting, and, you can sometimes get to know those people a little bit better because you have a lot more in common a lot of times with those people. But I would say just do what you can to introduce yourself to, when you're at the school, you can spot those people. It's easy to spot those people who love their job and who want to be there. So go introduce yourself to those people. Go become friends with them. Make them your buddy, whether they want to be your buddy or not. Make them your buddy.
True story. So there's going to be all these new teachers who are just going to be like harassing all of the seasoned educators at these schools. I love it. I'm like, come get me when I'm getting out of the car in the morning. Absolutely. Yeah, but it's really important who you allow inside the inner circle and who you keep out. And it's okay to be in charge of your inner circle. Like there are certain people that I regularly allow to come into my circle, even when they're having a bad day, because I know that they fill my cup. And there are people that if the door's not open, then you don't need to be, you don't need to be, even busting in, like you don't need a snack right now. So it's totally okay and very adult actually for us to control our inner circle and who we allow in our inner circle and who we do not. Yeah, Madeline says not knowing everything is expected, or I guess accepting probably is what you're saying. Madeline, if you want to interrupt and or Madeline, if you want to unmute and clarify your comment. But I'm guessing that you were talking about just everything that's expected of you, that not knowing what's expected can be really overwhelming. And we always say like, well, they don't know what they don't know. I mean, it's like you hear things and you're like, wait, what's that? What's an SLO? What's an IEP? What's a 504? Like, what are we calling someone? I mean, there's a lot of angst around like, we don't define our terms anymore. There's certain things we don't do well in our business. And that is very overwhelming people who are new to the business.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
And
go ahead.
So I'm a second year teacher.
Okay, great.
And I'm having to attend this because of something that happened, but like where I've been very like, I guess, afraid to talk to admin about things because I don't want to feel like a failure, but like where they're trying to get at me that it's okay to not know things. But then like your pride is like, but I want to be the best that I can be,
100%. First of all, let me say thank you for coming back for year 2, because a lot of people would have just thrown in the towel and said, forget it. But, and when you bring up a really good point, this notion that like, well, I don't really know everything. And that's really hard because that puts us in a really vulnerable spot, especially if we were the best in our class for a really long time. And many teachers are really exquisite students. Remember, if you probably got really high grades and everybody thought you were generally pretty sweet. That's the story of many teachers as they're in their former student lives. And so when suddenly you're sort of hit with that reality that like, no, I'm physically tired, I'm emotionally tired, because the next person who asks me if they can go to the bathroom, and then I come home and my husband says, or my boyfriend says, hey, what do you want for dinner? And you bust into tears because I can't answer that, because I've just been telling children that they could use the restroom and breathe all day. And so like, I can't make another decision. I can't make one more decision. And so though you are, I guess the thing that I want to say, and Jamie and Dr. Marlowe chime in, but you are not alone. You are not alone.
Yes. And I want to add to that too. My international teachers, they don't, like you said, Madeline, they don't want to be seen as a failure. And, they are professionals in their country, but it's so different here that it is like stepping into Mars. And when we give them feedback and then they don't ask clarifying questions or just are not really tracking with us, that is in fact, it's stronger for you to say, look, I'm not understanding this, please help me, than to try to go it alone and just to keep kind of flopping forward. So, I like to say that the strength comes in the asking for help and asking for questions.
100%. But our society is not built to ask for help. Our society has tons of helpers. We've got lots of chiefs who know lots of things, but our society is not built, and our culture is not built, that it is okay to ask for help. All right, example. So I run a sewing club at school, and it's a long story, but I have to do it over 2 afternoons because there was too many kids. But nevertheless, so my Monday group is heavy on 8th graders. Those girls, we've only been meeting for several weeks, but we've been working really hard talking about the fact that we're learning a new thing, and it's a big thing. We're learning how to use a sewing machine. People could hurt themselves with a sewing machine, so we have to pay attention. And we've been really focused a lot on it is okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, I don't know how to solve this problem. Can you help me? And I'm hearing those young women say to each other, can I help you? Yes, I can help you. Will you help me? And there is so much power in the giving and the accepting of help. It's totally understated. So one of the things, if you are on this call tonight and you are the supporter of a new teacher, and you are in a coaching or a leadership role, please, 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 if you hear nothing else tonight, please hear this. It is important that when you are talking to the group, the collective, that we are talking explicitly, we are talking supportively, and we are making sure that what we're delivering, what we're asking of everyone is absolutely 100% clear. The people in our profession now, many of them, we have this big gap. It used to be that we had those rock teachers that have been at the same school for 37 million years. And those were the ones that opened the doors. We just assume they know where all the bodies are buried, and those are the people you go to. And then you've got the people who've been working for 10 or 12 years. Those are the ones who are the mover and the shaker. They do all the clubs, and they know all the things. Right. And they're looking at innovative practice, and they're so cool. And then we've got the brand new teachers to the block, and they're looking at you going, please, will you help me? But I can't ask you for help because that feels too vulnerable. But guess what? The way our schools are set up now, our middle crew is leaving, and the middle crew is gone. And so what we have is we have to be sure that the line of communication is open between those other two groups. So I did an activity today in my professional development, and I had all of them participate. Didn't matter if you've been teaching for 50 years, didn't matter if this was your second day. and they had to write out a lesson that they were going to use for a remediation lesson. And then they had to take the card, and we did a little speed dating round. And I had them simply explain what the lesson was going to be. They only had 1 minute to explain to 3 other colleagues in the room. By the time they hit that third colleague, they had a better, deeper understanding of what they were going to be teaching. How many times, Jamie, have we seen a new teacher who's like, I just don't know what it's supposed to look like? How do we help those people?
Well, I mean, I would say their mentor is going to be a huge help in that situation, because hopefully they're paired with somebody that's teaching something that they're going to be teaching, or close to it at least. I'm a math teacher and I have a strings mentee this year, so that's totally out of my comfort zone. But on a normal basis, I usually have math teachers. So we just happen to not have any new math teachers this year. So anyway, I would say that mentor is going to be a huge asset to them in trying to walk through that lesson, and this is what it's supposed to look like, and this is what you need to include with it. And I think that's leaning on that person. That's what that person is there for, and they want you to come to them to ask them for help.
For sure. And it's really important that when we're helping, when we're in a mentoring session with a new teacher, that we make sure that we're being explicit about how things sound and should look, and how they should feel, and what the kids should be doing, and what you should be doing. And don't feel like you're talking down to them. Because guess what? If you were going to teach me how to roller skate, and I'm a terrible roller skater, I've never been able to. Last time I roller skated, I hit my head, I fell and hit my head and was so embarrassed. So if you are sure that you can teach me how to roller skate, talk to me like I'm 3. Tell me how to do it. And so the best mentors are really able to communicate how to do it. Dr. Marlowe, think about a time when you were mentoring somebody, coaching somebody, and that everything worked out well in the end. What is something you're really proud of?
I'm going to go to something yesterday. I was in a building with 2 teachers, and they wanted to observe teachers who are also international teachers, but have been here for several years and are on the other side of their classroom management. So we did that. And so I went in there, and I would say this is really important. If you're a first-year teacher or a second-year teacher, ask your administrator, or be willing to give up your planning period to go see a master teacher teach, and just see what their classroom is like, what it feels like. Just no matter what, every time I'm in a classroom, and I've been doing this for a long time, I'm still learning something new every time I'm in a classroom. So we did this yesterday with my teachers, and I will say they're struggling with classroom management. It's not a secret that's very hard as a first-year teacher to do that in middle school. And they just sat there and they were just blown away about that the kids were doing what they were supposed to be doing, that they were learning and listening and, raising their hand at the right time. So I would say that just having that visual, truly the visual and the feeling of being in that classroom, that with people who are just like them and have their same experiences and understanding, that they too are going to get across this hurdle and have classes that look like that.
Yeah, for sure. Kenesha says all of it. Since 2007, she's been an instructional coach. This year, she decided to return to the classroom full time. Sounds like someone I know, Kenesha. I'm thinking about going back to the classroom now. Okay, so she's a 28-year vet who's a new teacher. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? How great is it to be able to say, I'm a new teacher, but I know things, but I'm still a new teacher. I love it. Okay. It's interesting, Dr. Marlowe, you bring up a good point. Kenesha, what do you got?
I said, that's me. I am she. And I'm teaching 7th grade math. And, but I always said I wanted to retire in the classroom. I was only supposed to do instructional coach for like 5 years. And, it went on and on and on.
No, you know how that goes, right? Because they rope you in and then they won't let you go. It's like this terrible, Hotel California. You can leave, you can never go.
Correct. And so I said, well, this is I'm starting year 28. And so I was like, it's now or never. But I will say, yes, So it's like, it's very interesting because I worked with all of our new teachers, and so everything that you're saying, you know, and I'm trying to remember certain things that I also tell them to not beat yourself up on, but because, you know, also being an instructional coach, everybody's like, oh, well, your class is going to be great. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, look, I got to get my sea legs back. I got to give me at least a year to get myself back together. But I am having a great time. But it is, everybody asks me, how is it? And I say, I love it, but I am tired all
the time. So Kanisha, I'm curious, what has been the biggest shell shock for you? What's been the craziest thing that you've experienced so far?
Well, I would probably say, I know that the time is limited, and I would always tell our teachers, I can't give you back time, but let's see what we can do. But no matter what, I can't seem to get caught up. And I know probably as a real first year teacher, that would be very, very disheartening. But of course I'm 50 and this is year 28. So I'm like, well, it'll get done.
You'll get to it when you get to it. Yeah, right. I know. Gosh.
But I can understand that. I do agree with, again, having one night a week. Like usually mine is Sunday night, where that's my day for everything. And I would always tell my new teachers when I worked with them, say no. And if you don't feel like you can say no, then you come to me. Let me be the person to say no, because I know that people are like, oh, new teacher, let me go ahead. And I've had several new teachers, international, you know, US teachers say, thank you for giving me the permission to say no, because I felt like if I did it, it would have not have been productive for me. But I feel comfortable enough knowing that I can say no. So
absolutely, 100%. You know, and it's interesting. This is really one of the only professions, one of the only jobs where observation is really critical. You know, you have to find someone who is like you so that you can mimic them at first until you build your own repertoire of practice. And so that sort of takes us to our next topic, which is observation feedback, and really, really being intentional about helping our new teachers to develop a voice. Their own voice is critical to the future of our profession. I want to show you this video. This again is another short little video about the power of observation and learning lab. So if you don't currently run this at your school, and some schools do not, but the learning lab is really powerful, and the way they have set it up in this school in New York City, it is really exceptional.
All right, that went well. Would you like to give feedback to Ms. Allen, and then we could give feedback to Ms. Allen?
I love how she challenged them when she thought that the student can move on to the next step.
I think that it's very engaging to partner with my teacher peers in understanding different strategies that they're using in their classroom, being able to say, the way I'm teaching this isn't working. So how can we teach this so that all of our kids are successful?
One thing I really liked is that you did a lot of partner work. You were really checking in. The kids were giving you really nice answers.
At PS 249, everyone's so collaborative. The trust is built around taking ideas from one another, listening to one another.
Eyes on me in 3, in 2, and in 1.
Lab sites are a place where teachers can come together and practice pedagogy. They're going to research a high-impact instructional strategy and then practice it. It's low stakes, so teachers are really comfortable providing each other feedback.
My focus in this particular lab site was to be more fluent in the drill that we were practicing. I asked a lot of questions to help make sure that they understood.
I want you to figure out how many beats there are. You guys ready?
Suzanne, how many you see? 7. Brandon, how many you see? 7.
So I'm going to show I'm going to show a number box.
It's important to have kids work with us in the lab site because the kids actually give us real data, what things we need to modify so that kids of different ability groups can do it successfully.
What does the 2 represent?
The 2 represents the 2 white beads.
The 2 white beads, right?
The observation sheet is similar to what we get graded on ourselves when we observed professionally. So we are looking at strategies teachers are using, different questions teachers are asking, how are kids engaged. You're still learning and seeing I need to do this too when it's my turn with my class.
We did fluency practice and then we did center work.
So one center was a scaffolded center and my center was more rigorous. Listen carefully because we're going to play a game to help us decompose. So you're going to put some inside your gingerbread jar and some inside the plate. You're going to decompose into 2 parts. The challenge was to write an equation to match the parts they came with. First, I modeled using the language, and then I had to be very intentional about the questions I asked so they can use the language back. What does the 3 represent, Giovanni?
The 3 in the plate.
Yes, the 3 in the plate.
Teachers at the end of our lab site are coming together and we're giving each other feedback. What went well? What are your glows? And what do you need to work on? What are your grows?
You gave a lot of details. You had a lot of active engagement. You weren't just teaching at them, teaching the center at them. They were doing it along with you.
Also, I love that you use the academic vocabulary words every chance you got. You're like, would you like to give feedback to Ms. Starling?
My one kind of next step was the pacing, maybe because it's a fluency routine, making it just a little bit quicker.
Part of the feedback that I got was how can I ask questions in a way that doesn't take so long because it's supposed to be a fast activity.
Next week we'll rotate. So we have our next steps for the next meeting. Thank you. Thank you.
After lab site, I take the feedback and I implement it in my own classroom. What's this called? It's a wreck and rag activity. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
So what's this?
Whole.
Your whole, and these are my
Parts.
Does it work or does it not work? And if not, we need to try it again until we make sure that students have an understanding of what we're teaching.
Our students definitely benefit from our lab sites because they will get high quality work put in front of them. Students are achieving the skill and they're ready for more.
I think that especially for new teachers, it is just a great place for them to be able to practice and get feedback from teachers that have been teaching for more years. So it creates a really safe place to learn for everyone.
Y'all give yourself a pat, pat, pat.
On the back, back, back.
Excellent work.
All right, that went well. Would you like to give feedback?
Okay. All right, so drop in the chat for us, please. What barriers exist for developing the voice of a new teacher? Drop your ID in the chat. You know, it was interesting. I do have to say, now middle school teachers, obviously I've been one my entire career. So, and I taught for a little while in juvenile justice and a little bit in high school. But for the most part, I'm a middle school person. But any teacher who teaches kindergarten, I check their back for wings because there's no way that I could be a kindergarten teacher for love or money. So y'all, I know you might be thinking like, gosh, but you know what I noticed most about that video is, did you hear the academic language that teacher was using with kindergartners? Did you happen to notice that? She talked, we are going to decompose the number, we're writing an equation, and those youngins didn't miss a beat. They didn't miss a beat. They didn't say that's too hard. They didn't say I can't do that. They jumped right in. And the key here, I think, is trust. How important is trust when you're mentoring a new teacher, a teacher new to the profession, Jamie?
It's huge. You are not going to share your true feelings with somebody that you don't trust. And I think having trust in your mentor and vice versa helps you develop your voice, because it helps you get to the root of the things that you're feeling within the profession. and able to have those hard conversations with your mentor that you would not have to have, which you would not have had you not had that relationship with them.
Yeah, for sure. Dr. Marlowe, what do you think about, I mean, because I heard a whole lot of, we trust each other, there's trust. That's important. And it's something we have to take care of.
And I think it's important that we accept that we are going to make mistakes and not every lesson is going to be perfect. And just to remember that, to give yourself grace. But that's important when you're working with a mentor, is that, you can accept that feedback that really didn't go well. And that's not a good feeling. I don't enjoy that. But that's, that's part of that trust, knowing that they're not criticizing you. They're just trying to help you be better. So being able to accept that, and truly just accepting that, I saw in the chat, she feels like she's underwater, and you're not going to get everything done every day ever. You're still going to have a stack of papers at the end of the school year that you're going to throw in the trash. So, I mean, I know story. I did every year.
Yeah, true story.
I did every year. So, just understanding, knowing the people around you, and truly who you can trust and can't trust, or can and can't trust.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see. Canisius offers, she's one of the barriers that exists for developing the voice of a new teacher is this fear of being wrong, which we talked about a little while ago, is that so many of our teachers they want to do it right. There is this desire to do this right, but it's art. It's an art. And so there's there is best practice. There are people who sat down and wrote a book, but beyond that, it's an art, and it's ever-changing art form. And so we're constantly chasing new requirements and new expectations and new. And the people who've been around for a while know that the chase is good. The chase is healthy. The chase keeps us alert, awake, and in the game. But the chase isn't everything. The chase isn't everything. It's all about, it really is about the children. Jamie, tell me a story about a time when a student you thought you hadn't really gotten through to came back and thanked you. Because Jamie's got a lot of these stories, y'all. She's one of those teachers.
Stop. I don't know. Let's see. Well, I had one a couple years ago that I was meeting at Meet the Teacher, and he came in with his mama. And I actually had taught his mama when his mama was in the 8th grade. And he was going to be in my 8th grade class that year. And she just kept going on and on and on about, oh, you're going to love it in here. And you're just going to learn so much. And so that was kind of crazy, because when you have them in your room and they're that quiet kid that sits over there in the corner, and you do your best to get to them and have those conversations with them. And she was that type of student. She just kind of stayed to herself and didn't really say much. And, you have conversations with her here and there, but, those students, right? Everybody has those students. Yeah. But then, her coming in and saying, oh, you're going to just love it, to her son, who was coming into my classroom. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but my favorite though is, so she goes from that, right, which is like the pinnacle of her career, mic drop. She should probably have retired after that happened. It came full circle. And then the other day she goes in, she's the interventionist at our school. She goes in and she pulls some students to get ready for a test. Well, one of the students' mamas emails to the teacher who is the teacher of record and says, why did my child have to go with that mean lady to go get ready for the test? I about fell out. That was priceless.
True story. True story.
Guys, you can't win. If you're a first-year teacher on this call, you have to laugh about it. I mean, you have to have a sense of humor about this, because the craziest things will happen in a school, and you just have to be like, wow, okay, well, it's 3:30. I guess it's time to go home, or whatever. And you have to laugh. There's just nothing else. I don't know. JR offers, don't try to be perfect. Absolutely. Don't try to be perfect. Fear of being wrong. We talked about that. Sarah Campbell said, just trying to keep her head above water. She feels feels this year like she's just learning instead of using her own voice. Which, I made a comment today in one of my sessions, and I said, our system is built to produce tons of product quickly. That is the way our system is built. So we have, we're expected to churn out a lot of product, new innovative lesson plans and cool things. And we're going to link to AI, and we're going to show these videos, and we're going to do all these things. And sometimes in our haste, in our desire to get so much product out so quickly, we don't have time to quality control any of it. Very little of it, really. And so the activity today really forced us to slow down and quality control that. And, it's hard because that's how we can develop the voice of a new teacher who is new to the profession. You have to have time. Time is limited. And so you have to have time for reflection. Have to have time for reflection and processing. Dr. Marlowe, what advice would you give to a new teacher about, prioritizing time for reflection and processing? Because Sarah Campbell's right. I mean, she's right now like drinking from the fire hose and doing more learning than she is developing her own voice.
It's true. I think we're in a lot of schools. I know in Greenville County, we're in a wonderful phase where we have good teams, where we have a lot of support with helping lesson plan, and really be able to talk about those things. When I first started teaching, there was none of that. You just kind of got a book and you got your standards, and they said, good luck. So we spent a lot of time lesson planning on our own and didn't have a lot of time to reflect. But, I say really lean into your teammates and talk to each other about what's going well in your classroom. How did this go in your classroom? So that you develop your voice, but you're developing it by reflecting with others about what's going on in their classroom. So you're kind of double dipping into some different things there, but in so doing, you're reflecting about what's going on in your world.
For sure. Casey Wilson says not knowing all the language feels like a barrier to teaching. So not knowing how to phrase your questions in a way that helps you get to the answers you really need. Shirley MacBell says not knowing even what questions to ask. Jamie, have you ever experienced that with someone you were mentoring? They just didn't even know what they were supposed to ask. How did you help them out of that hole? Because it feels like a hole.
It does. It's hard. I mean, it's really having that relationship with that person. I know I keep saying that trust and relationship is important, but it really is having that relationship with that person so that you really know what their questions are before they're really going to even ask them. I think is important. I think just being able to, I guess we've done this long enough to know, this is how it's supposed to go, and thinking through, you kind of have to, as a mentor, change your perspective to, well, if I was new coming in, what kind of things would I be needing help with along the way? And I think just having that relationship and having the mentor being able to change their perspective of not somebody that's been here forever, but somebody that's new coming in. What can we do? Or what needs to be done?
Absolutely.
And let me say this, Sarah, if you're a mentor or in a coaching role, the importance of the pause is huge. So you might ask a question, but let your teacher talk. Just let them get it out without you asking for clarifying questions, without you jumping in. Let them talk. And often they will talk themselves into their own solution, yes, or you will hear the true nugget of what they're getting at just by letting them talk. So don't feel like you always have to be the answer giver. Sometimes you are just the person listening, and they are going to come up with their own answer as they're talking.
Absolutely, for sure. Adrian says, good mentors stop kitchen fires from reaching the bedroom. I just want to put that's mic drop. Adrian, thank you very much for that contribution tonight. I appreciate you. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and, oops, no, I don't want to do that. There you go. What I want to do is I want to open up the forum here for questions, comments, wonderings, ponderings. Let's see what you got. If you got questions for, we played Stump the Chump last time, and I don't know, she didn't get us. She didn't get us, Dr. Marlowe, but maybe somebody could. I don't know. It's possible. So what do you got?
I have a question.
Fabulous, Casey. Thank you.
So you said at the beginning that there's the new teachers coming in that are straight out of college, and then there's a set of teachers like myself who are coming in as a career change.
Yep.
You said that we have two different sets of needs. So I'm the only one in my school coming in as a career change, and I'm with all these 20-something straight out of college. So what are those differences? How can we kind of work together?
That's a great question. Dr. Marlowe, do you want to talk to some of the differences? Because I know you work with international folks, but you've got some international folks who are career changers too. So they're like double.
It is. And it's just respecting the fact that you have a skill set that you have built in your career that actually is very important in the classroom, and not underplaying that or downplaying that, because what your knowledge base is very important and we need it. So I think that's an important thing for us to understand outside of the classroom, is not to pigeonhole you into a spot of not knowing anything, because you do know a lot. And you have a lot of the same as the new teachers, but you also have a lot of life experience. I came into teaching when I was 38 and I was already a mom of 2. So I had a very different knowledge base than the other first year teachers. I just truly knew how to deal with kids better because I had my own already. So, and being an advocate for yourself and saying, you know what, I know how to do this. And I think I have a really good idea just on my stuff I've done before. You are an important part of education. So don't feel like, you are very important.
Absolutely. You're definitely very important, because if we're being honest, I'm not sure what the future of education really looks like without these people who are willing to serve. I mean, let's be honest, if we don't have career changers who are willing to serve, I'm not sure what the future of our schools really, really looks like. And that's kind of scary. So I think, so in terms of what I was kind of thinking about, I mean, I think that there's just different needs. I mean, I've mentored a number of first year teachers who they're dealing with life being new. So they didn't know that they had to pay a gas bill if they wanted hot water. I mean, like, that's a thing. They just didn't know. They never lived on their own before. And they had to tell me all about how they took a cold shower this morning because they didn't know they had to pay their gas bill, which was only $10, but still if they didn't pay it, they shut it off. And so like those kinds of things are like, it's a dichotomy of like, life is happening and they're learning how to do life and how to do adulting, and then also how to be a teacher at the same time. And I think what Dr. Marlowe really spoke to very eloquently there with the unique needs of someone who's a career changer too, is that you've got to be, you have the voice, most likely, you have the ability to self-advocate, most likely. And the reality is that, so you're missing some of the, how do I get kids to walk in a straight line to lunch? Okay. I mean, we can, that's a thing. Like, we can teach that. We know how to teach people that. And so sometimes though, sometimes it is very difficult on school campuses to divide up, to make the delineation between the two kinds of first year teachers, because they have the, so what do you see then as your greatest need this year so far?
I don't know. That's a really good question. Like you said, I do, like, I have kids. Yes. So, I have my kids. I know how to deal with my kids. It's, I guess, maybe dealing with other people's kids and separating myself from what I think my kids should be like versus what I think other people's kids should be like.
Yeah. And I think that that's what we're seeing a lot in our career changer folks, is that they come in with some biases that are natural. If you have your own kids, then you know how you want to parent them and how they should be. And if you've been a student at some point in your life, okay, and you've worked in a career, a professional, place before school, and so you have this sort of set of biases that you carry in your pocketbook with you, and then you arrive at a school and all of a sudden these people are dropping off their kids to you and they're trusting us to do all this really hard work, and it's a big responsibility, and these kids don't seem to have been raised in the same kind of house as the one I live in. And so that sort of aligning your biases and your preconceived notions, not in a bad way, but just like we have ideas about how things should be in the world, and aligning those so that we're not disappointed. Do you ever find that you're disappointed sometimes? Like that feeling of disappointment? either in yourself or the kids are sitting in front of you. Like, what is going on?
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And also trying to just, I don't even know how to phrase it. Like some of the trauma and some of the stuff that the kids deal with at home that I'm just not used to. And I didn't go through like the education for the 4-year teachers. So I kind of missed out some of the schooling, I think.
That's hard on all of us.
It is.
And it stays hard throughout your entire career.
Yeah.
Well, don't tell me that.
Yeah, I know. We're trying to keep her in, Dr. Marlowe.
No.
What's the matter with you?
No, I'm just saying you will always have a heart for your kids, and you know it. But that's why you are where you are, is because you are so settled and you know what good is. You're able to help those kiddos understand that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I you know, there's not a lot of things that my principal says that I want to repeat, but one of the things that he always says that I really think bears repeating is he says to the professionals on campus all the time, you're here for a reason. You're here in this place in this time doing this work for a reason. And I think there's a lot behind that. You know, it's hard. These are other people's children. I had a coach once who she told me I had an especially difficult day, and I showed up to her office and I was upset and I was looking for chocolate, y'all. Like it was one of those days. Like I was upset because my 6th period was terrible and they were just horrible, no good, very bad, the whole thing. And she looked at me and she said, you know, maybe tomorrow will be better. And I said, well, that's no help. I mean, come on. What do you mean maybe tomorrow will be better? And she goes, well, no, maybe tomorrow will be better because you'll be different and they'll be different. But she said, just remember that they're not keeping, the families aren't keeping the good ones at home. I mean, they've sent you the best they've got. And talk about, I was like, hey, do you have a Hershey's? I got to get out of here. Like at that point, my guilt kicked in and I was like, now I feel bad. But the reality is that she's not wrong. I mean, the families in our communities are sending us the very best they have. And sometimes there's some trauma. Sometimes they're leftover COVID residual trauma. Sometimes they, you know what, these kids are just, they're going through a time right now and they're testing boundaries and they're trying to find themselves and they're trying to discover who they are as individuals. And that's really hard to navigate by even the most seasoned teachers. Because there are times sometimes where I'm talking to a child and I'm going, I don't really know where this is going to land. You know, I don't know where this thing is going to go. I don't know where, hopefully we'll go there together. I don't know. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to handle. Thank you, Casey, though, for changing your career and coming to join up. We're happy you're here. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Sarah, let's see. Sarah Campbell says, yes, that's me dealing with life being new, wedding planning, and first year teaching. Girl, unmute and tell us how you're doing. Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Yes, they're all blessings, but it is definitely a lot. And some days I'm like, the train's on the track. We're doing great. I'm a good educator. And then other days I'm like, there's no train, there's no track. I don't know what just happened. So, but, I'm very blessed to be able to wake up each day and get to do what I love to do. It's just, my word for this year is it's a lot. It's a lot. It's good, but it's a lot.
Definitely. So talk to me, Sarah, about how have you worked to build your network? Who's in your network now? Can I join? I really like your vibe. I mean, I want to be part of your support network. Like, how is it? Like, has your mentor really stepped up? Don't call them out, but have they really? Yes, I'm seeing a yes. Okay. So like, what is the hardest thing about being a first year teacher for you?
I think for me, it's time management, not because I don't have good time management skills, but like I could easily let myself go down a rabbit hole and like just devote myself entirely, wake up and then just do it all day long, come home, do it, and then go to bed, wake up, do it again. And I have to find that time for me. And I think I'm struggling with that because I could just come home and grade and plan and this and that and then, you know, go to bed.
And you would still never get it done.
Right, never exactly. Yeah. So I think that's been my biggest thing is finding time management for me, for myself, almost like that self-care component.
Yeah. And you know, that's huge. Now, Miss Campbell is one of those work friends that picks you up at the grocery store when you locked your keys in the car. Like she was already on the couch, but you bought twice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. She's done it multiple times. Okay. But, Jamie, real quick. So Sarah speaks to something that like a lot of people struggle with, and not just first year teacher people struggle with, but like general people struggle with. Like if we allowed ourselves, we could potentially work from sun up to sundown and beyond, and it still wouldn't all get done.
Yes. Yes, I would I would say something that I have suggested to some of my mentees is to make a list of the things that you have to accomplish today, the things that can wait till tomorrow, and the things that maybe can wait till next week. And you'll see that, if you stick with that and don't move things once you get them on the list, it becomes a bit easier. Sarah's moving things on me. Sorry, moving your face. I was trying to watch your face. But I think that that's a big thing, is to focus on the things that you just have to get done today, and make sure that you definitely are taking time to do things for yourself, because they're so right. What Dr. Marlowe and Sarah are saying, you could start when you get up in the morning and work till the time you go to bed, no matter what time that is, and still never feel accomplished. So try to prioritize the to-do lists and stick with it.
Absolutely. So on that note, I have 6:59. Maybe other people have different times, but it's time to wrap it up for tonight. I first want to say thank you. Thank you to all of our first year teachers, whether it be because they're closing out their career with a bang, or they are joining us because they're a career changer after a decades long career in another place, or they're just graduated college because this was what they always wanted to do. We're happy you're here, because eventually we're going to have to retire, and we need someone to be in the buildings when we leave. So it really is kind of like I want someone to be in the buildings for my children and for other people's children. You are of service in a really serious way to your community, to your country. You are in a you're poised for to really contribute in a meaningful way to your sphere of influence. There's some wise folks around who try to keep me grounded and try to remind me that there are only a certain number of things, and it's a finite number, an amount of things that I can control. And there's an even larger number of things that I cannot control. So I can't control the trauma-informed practice that I'm supposed to be learning about. I can't control the baggage that the students bring to my room. I can't control the state is constantly changing our finish line. I can't control, that that an administrator is pursuing their PhD and we have to come along with them. We can't control any of that. But the things we can control is we can control how we love on our children in the classroom. We can control how we educate our children in the classroom, and we can control how well we take care of ourselves so that we're able to do that work to the best of our ability. So as I leave you here tonight, please remember, you're there for a reason. You're in your school for a reason. You bring excellence to a place, you bring light to a spot where otherwise there would be none. So thank you for your service. Thank you for being with us. And we all want to give you a round of applause, and we want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being a first year teacher, because we all had to start somewhere, right? We all had to start. We all have a first year. All right, so I am going to wish you all a wonderful evening. I want to remind you to please go ahead and click the link in the chat that will take you to the Google form, so that you can receive your certificate for this evening's work. Also in that email, of course, I will send to you any resources that we referenced in tonight's session, and I hope you'll join us again. Next week's Thursday Thoughts is looking at tech tips for tired teachers, and we may even talk a little bit about AI, but we have a separate session just all about AI coming up in the series. But we're going to be looking at how to reach the needs of our multilingual learners, how to reach the needs of our special education students. And so all of these Thursday Thoughts are targeted to best serve you and what you need in the classroom. Alrighty. I'll see you next Thursday. Be well. And